Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. After we had to leave the beautiful Tikehau, we flew to Tahiti. Tahiti was our final destination on the French Polynesia trip, but before that, we still had Moorea ahead of us. We drove from the airport in Tahiti to the harbor and from there took the ferry over to Moorea. The ride on that massive ferry takes about 30 minutes. The ferry can carry hundreds of passengers along with vehicles. It's a quite impressive vessel. Now, even though I had been on all sorts of boats out on the ocean over the past few weeks, sometimes in pretty rough waters, it was the ferry to Moorea where I actually got seasick. I can't even tell you how relieved I felt when we finally reached Moorea and I could step off that ferry. Despite the unpleasant ride over, the island already looked absolutely stunning from the water. As we got closer, I generally felt like we were arriving at Jurassic Park. It was just as mountainous and green as in the movie. In fact, Moorea is often cited as one of the inspirations for fictional tropical island settings in Hollywood. Moorea, or by its ancient name Aimeho, has an area of about 132 square kilometers and is home to around 17,000 people. It's often referred to as the Little Switzerland of Tahiti. According to the legend, Moorea is said to be the dorsal fin of a great fish. The dorsal fin, the highest point on the island, is Monte Hieva, standing at an impressive 1,207 meters. Moorea is an atoll whose main island is predominantly made up of igneous rock. The island, much like its neighbor Tahiti, was formed as a part of the society chain from hotspot on the Pacific plate, and it's roughly 1.5 to 2 million years old. To put that in perspective, Moorea is significantly younger than many other Pacific islands. Moorea lies within the Earth's tropical belt. The climate is tropical warm and very humid, which is what gives the island its incredibly lush vegetation. Average temperatures sit between 28 and 30 Celsius, with very little variation between individual months. Once we arrived at the harbor, we were driven to our accommodation. Already on the way there, we noticed that Moorea is a bit more touristy than, say, Rangiroa or Tikehau, but thankfully it was far less touristy than Bora Bora. Our accommodation was huge, a massive and beautiful green oasis. This time we didn't have an overwater bungalow, but nonetheless our bungalow was really lovely and actually just a few meters from the water. As soon as we arrived, we rented a scooter so we could explore the island our own. On top of that, we also booked a day tour for the next day, but this time it wasn't on or under the water, it was a jungle tour. We had spent so much time in the water on the other islands that we really wanted to do a jungle tour on Moorea. I also have to say, it wasn't just because we had been in the water so much, but also because the boat traffic around the island is fairly heavy and that can be a bit annoying. Anyway, we did a full loop tour around the island on the scooter. The route is about 60 kilometers long and we were out for about 4 hours because we stopped so many times. Right near the accommodation where was a viewpoint where you could see the entire resort, but also gorgeous water and incredible green vegetation. As we continued on, we also checked out the Black Sand Beach, where Mel Gibson arrived by boat in the film The Bounty. The film was released back in 1984 and depicted the famous mutiny on the HMS Bounty, and Moorea doubled as the Tahitian backdrop for those scenes. He wasn't there anymore, of course, but there were some little crabs and loads of stray dogs. I love dogs, and even though I've nearly been bitten by strays multiple times, in Italy for example, I always try to make contact with them. In French Polynesia, in general, we never had any problems, and Moorea was no different. All the dogs were super friendly. As we continued our ride, we saw plenty more beautiful nature and epic landscapes. I have to say, even though Moorea is a bit more touristy than many of the other islands, that Jurassic Park vibe completely captivated me. Moorea is definitely a place I would want to visit again. Our day tour didn't get off the best start. We booked the tour at the reception. We were told we would pick it up at 9 o'clock. So we had breakfast earlier than usual, and around 8:30 we started getting changed and ready for the tour. At the moment, someone from the reception came over and told us, "Hey, hurry up," because the tour guide and the other guests from another hotel had been waiting for us for 50 minutes. Of course, we quickly got ourselves ready, but when we checked later, the voucher that had been issued at the reception clearly said 9 o'clock, not 8:15, as the tour guide claimed. Funny enough, our first stop on the tour was the same viewpoint we had already visited the day before, and after that, a few more spots we had been already seeing. We were a bit disappointed, thinking we weren't going to see anything, but then things really kicked off as we headed into the jungle, deeper into the interior of the island. The first thing we visited was a massive pineapple plantation. By the way, did you know that around 200 tons of pineapple are exported from Moorea every year? Unfortunately, very little of it makes it to Europe. The flavor isn't sweet as the usual varieties you find in Europe, but we actually liked it even better. Moorea's pineapple are known as Queen Victoria's pineapples. They are smaller than the common Cavendish variety, but are prized for their more complex aromatic taste. Another interesting thing to know is that the famous and very expensive pineapple champagne comes from Moorea, and it cost up to 25,000 euro. We even visited the distillery for tasting. Not the 25,000 euro champagne, of course, but various gin varieties. Since I'm a gin lover and not really into champagne, I actually preferred that we got to try the gins. I bought a bottle of gin because I was planning to meet up with friends after our trip, and I thought, hey, what could be a better gift than a bottle of gin from 60,000 kilometers away? In hindsight, I have to say I must have picked up the one gin that wasn't good. It was so bad. In fact, that even with friends, we couldn't finish the bottle. After the tasting, we drove further into the island's interior, and it got more and more jungle-like. We drove to the most well-known viewpoints on the island, where this absolutely gorgeous panorama unfolded before us. And on top of that, wild chickens roaming around made the moment even better. By the way, wild chickens are a common sight across French Polynesia. But what happened next was actually the highlight of the day. We visited the highest viewpoint on the island. From up there, you get a full 360-degree panorama, and it's absolutely breathtaking. Fun fact, aside from the fact that several films have been shot on Moorea, the famous noni drink made from the noni fruit also comes from Moorea and Tahiti. The noni fruit, also known as Morinda citrophilia, has been used in traditional Polynesian medicine for over 2000 years. It's marketed worldwide as a miracle cure, but the local says that while it's indeed very healthy, it's far from miracle. All in all, Moorea was something completely different from the previous islands. Different, but equally impressive. Jurassic Park could have been filmed on this island. Truly stunning nature, and just like on all the other islands we visited, the food was delicious and the people were incredibly kind. In the next video, I will show you our final destination on the French Polynesia trip, Tahiti. But that is for today. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a like and a comment. See you next time. Peace.